Hey folks, I'm teaching my first class at Stanford today. I'm going to be talking about dilemma. It's the same thing I'll be talking about next week in orientation week. A lot of writing books talk about your protagonist having a dramatic problem. And something I've discovered is that they don't actually have a problem. What they really have is a dilemma, which is a problem that can't be solved without creating a new problem. And there's a difference. When you think about it, when you feel like it's your job to figure out your story because your protagonist has a problem, notice how you start to get stuck. You start to panic. You start to think, I can't figure out how to get to the end of my story. It's because there's something, problems are solved, they're intellectual. Dilemmas are resolved through a shift in perception. Okay, a dilemma is a problem that can't be solved without creating a new problem. It's resolved through a shift in perception. When you realize that your protagonist is struggling with a dilemma, you stop trying to solve the problem and you become more interested in the paradigm shift. I want you to think about how inherent in every story is a surrender. In other words, your protagonist has to let go of the meaning they made out of their goal in order to arrive at a transformation. Okay, so this is where a lot of writers get stuck, is that they think they want there to be conflict, but not so much conflict that they can't figure out their way to the ending. When you understand that your protagonist is actually going to die at the end of the second act, they're going to die to their old identity. I don't mean necessarily physically die, but they're going to die to their old identity. They're going to die to their old approach of getting what they want. And oftentimes what separates your protagonist from an antagonist is that your protagonist is willing to surrender. Because you'll notice that your protagonist and antagonists all want the same thing at nature. In fact, ironically, it's this uniformity of desire that creates the conflict in your story. For example, let's say Jack wants freedom and he's married to Jill, who also wants freedom. But Jack believes that freedom comes through making millions of dollars, and Jill believes that true freedom comes from letting go of all their worldly possessions. They both want freedom, but notice how it's this perception of what freedom ought to look like that leads to the conflict of the marriage. And ultimately, story isn't about who's going to win and who's going to lose, but story is about how are we going to reframe our relationship to what freedom means. Okay, so in the third act, in the climax of your story, the protagonists are going to be forced to integrate these two ideas in order to arrive at a deeper truth. Come to orientation week. I look forward to talking with you next week. Bye-bye.